1975 in San Diego. I was there with my 2 kids, alone. We did have extended family there, but not people that we were directly related to. And they lived in an area that was pretty much surrounded by a landfill. There were trucks that went by every day. We saw them every day, but we were told not to worry about it because everything was safe. State of the art. And just fine because people lived there all the time and had been living there for many years, which was obvious because we did have neighbors who were alive at the time. People there were sick. We were aware of the illnesses, but we lived in a neighborhood where people were elderly. And you kind of expect elderly people, retired Navy people who've had all kinds of experiences all over the world to have something wrong. A lot of heavy smokers and drinkers, too. But later, a lag time, I became very ill, violently ill, with what is described as sinus histiocytosis. And again, that's a description of what happens inside my cells. My white cells no longer recognize healthy tissue in my body as being healthy tissue. So I'm attacked by my own body from the inside, causing a myriad of illnesses and other kinds of things that happen. I am aware, having talked with people across the country, that this disease happens to people who are low income. Obviously, money does not make you sick in this kind of way, in a physical way. You know, it's debatable how it makes your head. But people all over the country and all over the world are now beginning to be described as having this same disease. Landfills being one of those elements, chemical involvement of some kind being a direct cause with this disease. I left San Diego and came home. And very shortly after I arrived back home here in Kansas City, I was made aware that there was an attempt to install a landfill very close to where we lived, on a property that had been very precious to us as part of our family history. The town of Quindaro, the name Quindaro, had special meaning to people who grew up in the area because this was the name of an abolitionist town. Named after an Indian princess who herself was called Quindaro, meaning a bundle of sticks. And that's after the Indian legend, which says that a bundle of sticks are stronger. In unity there is strength. Bundle is stronger and unable to break, where one stands alone is easy to break. I can testify what happens to your body, what happens to your life when you're exposed to chemicals, whether or not you know it, but especially when you don't know it and you don't know what to tell anybody about what's happening. It's awful. I will not allow this to happen to anyone else if I can help it. And it will be my blood before I will allow this to happen.
You'll have to walk down through those woods, along those trails. You listen to that water. You can see the water coming out of the ground, out of the rocks, and you use your imagination. It makes me feel like a full person that I feel that the good Lord has put all of these things here for us to enjoy. And why not? Instead of destroying everything, get out there and live and see what's going on. This is the only way we're going to survive. We have to get back to Mother Earth. I know the value of the land. I know what the land produces. And if more people would spend a fourth of their time in the woods learning these different things, then they'd have a whole new outlook. But they don't want to avail themselves to do this. I don't know why.
Keep in mind, we're at Kansas, the border of Kansas, where John Brown was just a few miles from here. Lawrence, Kansas, that was burned before the Civil War, is just a few miles from here. This place, Quindaro, was kind of a meeting ground for all these people. The abolitionists, it was an abolitionist town. They want to deny that.
The older citizens are gone. They're all dead. And the younger ones have moved away. So consequently, they just think, well, this is just a wasted area out here, so put a dump out there. But they still don't realize the roots are roots out here. I guess they don't care. These are our roots out here. We can identify with Western University, the hospital, first black hospital in Wyandotte County, Douglas Hospital. Primrose Villa, the nursing home, it's gone. BBK, Bryant Butler Kitchen, nursing home, it's gone. The building is still there, but I guess it's deteriorating or something. But the whole thing, the people are gone. There are a few still here. Our new school up here on the corner, Quindaro School. We have about close to 500 children in that school. And this is what we tried to tell the city council and the board. We have this new school here, over 500 children. And the trucks are going to pass there. That's the only way they can get over there to the ruins, with a landfill. It's ridiculous.
And now they want to make this proud site in the history of Kansas into an international dump and further persecute people who have already been very much abused by a society which really has established a procedure of having throwaway people. It's not just that we throw away our poisons and hope that nobody suffers from it. We actually throw away our people. This is some of the reasons why many of us are outraged at what's happening at Quindaro. Another reason it was chosen is that it is on the edge of a river, and you would think that would be a very bad place for a dump site because the leaching process would send all of the toxins right into the river and from there into the groundwater. But actually that was seen as a great advantage for transportation purposes. It's also very close to a major airport, so you have the possibility of bringing waste products in from the entire world, actually, through these transportation facilities, very conveniently located there, and a community that doesn't have the means to fight back effectively. So for all of these very bad reasons, Quindaro was chosen as a supposedly ideal dump site.
When you have your meetings behind closed doors, I mean, this little few have a meeting concerning me, the community, and then everything is decided in this little meeting, then we bring it to the official meeting, and we sit there looking like bumps on logs. That's country expression. And everybody knows what's happening. We know that you have gotten together and you've decided, well, we're going to do this and we're not going to do that. We're going to vote this way. We're not going to vote that way. So what do? You're fighting City Hall.
The state's involvement in issuing a permit for the landfill was after discussion with the Department of Health and Environment in the state of Kansas, was And their statement was that it was a local matter to be considered, and that the local unit of government had said that they wanted the landfill there, and that the only role that the state had authority to play was, in fact, to see if the specifications of the landfill was in fact technically correct and met the guidelines set down by the federal government Environmental Protection Agency. It seemed to me that that was a cop-out, because it would appear to me that the state of Kansas has the right and certainly the obligation to protect its citizenry. And I just felt that they didn't do enough, and I believe that they abdicated their right and their responsibility.
I really believe that there was a disregard for the people in the community. I remember comments being made that there was already a landfill in there, and that the black community was already used to trucks coming down those roads, dumping tree limbs and other trash, and so our hazardous waste trucks would not add drastically to the traffic already. I think one of the primary technical reasons that the site is inappropriate is its proximity to the Missouri River. It's too close to a river that is a major source of drinking water for millions of people. History has demonstrated over and over that these systems don't work forever. Is that 30, 60, 100 years from now, when the failure occurs, that it will be irreversible. When that failed system leaks into the river, it will be a little leak, and we'll have a new engineering report or some assessment that says that it's acceptable levels of pollution. And I think it's just suicide for a community to consider putting a landfill that is going to leak, regardless of the technology they use, above their drinking water supply.
It's all about money. It took a study done by the State Historic Society to reveal that the AME Church was then, and probably still is, receiving $5,000 a month for the land. In the process of doing research, we discovered that their attorney did all kinds of flip-flops, quick claim deeds, all kinds of things in order to establish ownership of all of that property. We're talking like 120 acres of land that would be incorporated in that landfill. We know that Browning Ferris Industry is a multi-billion-dollar international corporation. They don't go into little places unless they know that there are going to be big bucks coming out of it for them. We know, having talked with people from the EPA in Washington, that the income that Browning Ferris would receive from this one site would be $3 billion or more over the period of the life of the landfill. So, we're talking a lot of money that people who live in this area we can't conceive of that many zeros.
I think it's going to take a war. Now, a lot of people may not see it that way, but that's what it's going to take. Do you realize that my little house is 400 feet from that river? And that landfill will be about 200 feet from my house? I'm a senior citizen. Where am I going? I couldn't get enough out of this house to put a down payment on another house. And I don't want another house. This is mine. And if I have to stand here and protect it, I'll do it. Whatever it takes. I have no choice. Look, when you want to bury me I'll do anything to stay alive. Now, the good Lord promised me 70. I haven't reached that 70 mark yet. And nobody's going to do this to me. Not me looking them in the face. I'm sorry. Whatever it takes. And I think more people are beginning to realize this in Wyandotte County, that this is their life. And you just don't meddle with people's lives. Not to that point. And your water is certainly your life.
People in the city are non-believers. They don't want to understand that there are direct connections between illness, serious illness, and what they do. They know about public health, but they have people who will say, talk about acceptable risk. That means X number of people out of 1 million can get sick and or die from various things that they do, but that's acceptable. To them, it's not acceptable to me. It is not acceptable to anybody who has gone through this, who continues to go through this.
I became certainly aware that I wanted to become involved in it, be a part of the process, and do anything that I could to really prevent the landfill from taking place. It seemed to me like that it was just being ramrodded through, and I object to that type of tactics, and I felt that, to be honest with myself, my constituency, not only of the 31st District, but of Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County, that I should get involved.
But these people are fiends, the city council people. They listen to people who are into money only. The only thing that they're interested in is what is in their pants pockets. And I have said that to them. I have said a variety of different things. Some of them, sometimes I shock myself. But the effect is that by the time they get over what I've said, they don't get over it. They're thinking about it late at night and the next day, and people around town are saying the same kinds of things, and it empowers people. It empowers people to think. It empowers people to discover things for themselves. It empowers people to understand that these folks who are making all these decisions about life and death, literally about life and death, are just folks like everybody else, and that they are in a position to make mistakes, and they are playing greedy.
One day I went over to the city of Kansas City, Kansas' City Hall, and attended a public hearing on the landfill, and found the room filled with black people opposing the site. And as the questions were asked, well, some of us knew more of the technical answers, and so my position became one of giving technical advice and helping strategize how to defeat the facility.
City officials listen to other officials. And unfortunately, it has taken several years. It's been since 1983 that this has been going on. Here we are in 1990, and it's just been a year ago that the city officials decided, well, we've got these crazy people who are not going to give this up. We need to take another approach. And they filed suit against the BFI, the trash company, after the city of Kansas City, Missouri filed suit, or was willing to file suit against the city of Kansas City, Kansas, for putting this landfill in, because this place would be 400 feet from the river, just a few blocks from the water intake of Kansas City, Kansas, and just about a few miles from the water intake of Kansas City, Missouri. So, you know, this landfill is not isolated. It can affect millions of people. And getting people to understand that has been a long, hard struggle.
The issue of Quindaro has far-reaching implications. It's a good test case. Is that When it was cited, we were going to have business as usual, build another landfill. As the opposition has mounted, there has been a change of thought in this country. Recycling has gained respectability, I think, and it is a viable technology to handle our garbage. I think we're going to turn around and do things differently in the future. And essentially, this is a lesson for the waste industry to have learned. This is a lesson for citizens, because we just don't have to accept the traditional way we operate in this country. Democracy can be served, and I don't believe that there will ever be a landfill operated at that site. I really don't.
People need to understand their individual importance in all of this. I'm one little person. I remember their saying to me, you can't fight City Hall. You cannot fight the largest black Christian church in the world. You cannot fight a multi-billion-dollar international corporation. You have to be insane. And all I could say was, well, watch my dust. They can't do anything to me that hasn't already been done. And I'll give it a try like you would not believe. And I really believe that the fight has helped me to heal.
For Kansas to effectively deal with the environmental issues that will be brought about by such sites as Quindaro and other landfills, the state of Kansas is going to have to quit abdicating their responsibility and step up to local units of government and say, this is not a good proposed site. You need to find a different location. I feel a way to combat the ineffective work that the Department of Health and Environment in the state of Kansas is doing, and that would be to set up some sort of a commission with good people, business people, environmental people, to sit down and take a look and have some guidelines as to what you really need to look at when in fact you want to site a landfill.
I think the people would do a better job than what has been done all these years. This affects me. This is my livelihood. This is my house. And I'm going to keep my house up. I'm not going to let my house deteriorate. And you'll find that maybe 5 or 10 people feel this way. And when these 5 or 10 get together and they feel this way, they talk this way, it's going to gain momentum. More people are going to come along. Well, it hasn't worked. The other system hasn't worked. Let's try this. And it's happening all over the country. Get some ladies in power. We got one. Governor of Kansas. Get more people, more women.
Quilting was part of my family tradition, and I learned to do this at the age of 6. The old one said that you had to be able to learn how to make something of nothing. You had to be able to maintain a family history, a sense of history. And it's important to me to instill that kind of connection, because history flows in both directions. It flows past as well as future. And unless we maintain that connection, we're lost as a people.